All right, we are going live in 3, 2, 1, 0. Welcome back to 32 and Goal. I'm your host, Corey. We got Tyler today. This is episode 13, NFL Week 15 predictions. Go ahead and say hi, Tyler, so everyone knows you're there.
Hey everybody, what's up?
Hey, everybody, what's up? So, before I start giving predictions and stuff, I want to talk a little bit about last night's game. Which was between the
That was a
Chargers.
good game.
It was a good game. It was between the Chiefs and the Chargers in Kansas City. Me and you were the only ones out of the four of us that regularly do the show that predicted the Chargers to win. Was there any reason in particular that you picked the Chargers to win?
Well, I mean, we've been talking about it periodically throughout the show that the Chargers are such an underrated team that get overlooked because they are in the same division as the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, who is just showcasing himself. And I just think offensive-wise, both these teams are comparable. I mean, both were down their 1 and 2 running backs. And quarterback-wise, you could go either way. I mean, they have two different styles of quarterbacks. Number one, receiver-wise, both are comparable. So for me, it came down to the defense. And with Joey Bosa, it's just the Chargers defense are ranked 8th at the NFL right now. And they're just the better defense. I mean, that's the one hang-up on the Chiefs this year has been their defense.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, so going in the game, both teams, both players, are playing at an MVP level. Obviously, Mahomes is a little bit ahead of that. But, had Mahomes not been playing this year, I think people could easily make the case that Phillip Rivers is having an MVP caliber season.
Yeah.
It's just Mahomes is on a different level, with 45 touchdowns on the season. But, Phillip Rivers is one of those guys who's been in the league so long, and his name is just never mentioned that often. You always think of quarterbacks, you think of like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, all those guys. And, Phillip Rivers is kind of like the Matthew Stafford of the AFC. And you just don't talk about him that much. But he's good. And so
he is. And I mean, did the same year as Eli Manning. Actually, that big, huge scuffle where Eli Manning refused to play with San Diego. Rivers is the one that went to San Diego because Eli Manning refused to play there. And Drew Brees was at San Diego at the time as well. And I told you guys stats a few weeks ago when I was comparing the two out. Rivers has been in the top 10 passing yards pretty much his entirety of his career. I think there's maybe 2 seasons he didn't in the top 10.
Right.
He was in like the top 5, a good over half of those numbers as well. Like, he's a good quarterback, but like you said, it's just, I don't know if it's been the teams, but he's just never really mentioned until the end of the year stats come out.
Yeah, no, he's not. And, they were down by 14th in the fourth. And you look at Phillip Rivers, they're missing their running backs, and you need him to score. And it felt like there was a couple of drives that were easily extended by the refs. But their defense showed up. Like you were saying, they have the better defense, and it showed up when it needed to. Gave Phillip Rivers and this offense in Los Angeles the extra effort they needed to score those 2 touchdowns. Came in 4 seconds to the end of the game. Then they went for the 2-point conversion, which I was a big fan of.
Yeah, I agreed with that completely.
Yeah, you have the momentum. You have you just scored. Their defense is struggling already. They have a bad defense. You beat these guys now, or you don't beat them in overtime. Simple as that. Because
you can't give the ball. I mean, it's coming down to a coin flip, and it's either do you give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes in a diehard situation like that? I mean, that guy was passing with defenders in his face.
Right. Passing left-handed, passing getting tackled. He was passing. Another interesting stat that Phillip Rivers has is he has 69.4% completion rate, whereas Patrick Mahomes only has 67. But, Patrick Mahomes does have 4,500 yards. So
I was say Mahomes, I think his passer rating has gone to about 113, 114 on the season after last night's game. But another thing that I want to point out is I was reading, a couple of people mentioned it, is in the first half, like last night was the first game that the Chiefs had Eric Berry all season. And in the first half, with Eric Berry, the Chiefs held the Chargers to 7 points. Eric Berry came out for the second half, and that's when the Chargers blew up. So while people are probably gonna be writing off the Chiefs, saying, oh, "Okay, yeah, we were right. It's just Mahomes is just showing off or whatever," but they don't have the Super Bowl caliber team. Eric Berry obviously brings some sort of momentum and talent to that defense. Where with him on it, they are still a Super Bowl caliber team, and I think he might be the push that defense needs in order to carry it on through the rest of the season and into the preseason really deep.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm looking at his stats right now, and he did get 4 solo tackles and 2 assisted tackles yesterday. And just having that like tighter coverage where you can't throw to him or you can't make those passes is huge. You might not be leading the league in interceptions or pass deflected, but if quarterbacks aren't throwing your way because you're in the game, that says something. So you might be right on that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, first game back, and making that big of a difference. I mean, that says a lot. A lot of the times players got to take, a few games to get readjusted or whatever. But first game back, 15 weeks in, and he's going like he's been playing all year.
Right. So let's get to our predictions. I wrote down my predictions right before we started, so they're probably not going to be as good as they normally are, but we'll see how they go. We got first game, Texans versus Jets. So this is kind of an interesting game, I guess. But kind of not. The Texans are coming off an upset to the Colts. Well, I wouldn't really say that's an upset, but none of us predicted them to win. And but they're sitting pretty right now at the top of their division, 9-4, 2 games ahead of the Colts. They win one more, I think they clinch the division, but I'm not sure. And the Jets are kind of in a situation where they're out of the playoffs, but they're 4-9. They got a rookie quarterback, so you still want to kind of test him out. So I don't think they're gonna kind of like flop, I guess, or tank is what people say. But I think it's gonna be an interesting game. I think it's gonna be a lot closer than people are expecting. It is in New York, so.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, the Texans were going pretty good until last week. Like I think a lot of people forgot that the Texans started 0-3.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was a team at the beginning of the season. We're like, oh, what the hell happened? Like we thought these guys were going to be able to play, and then they came out and won 9 straight until they faced the Colts. Like you said, that's not really an upset. I mean, the Colts have been playing some really good ball. It's a divisional game, which we've talked multiple times. Divisional games are just so hard to predict, and so I think the Texans will definitely still come out on top with this one. They're the better team, like you said. Sam Darnold, he's going up against, J.J. Watt and Javelin Clowney on either side of him. Those are 2 people those are 2 monsters you don't really want to be bearing down on you for a rookie quarterback. And Darnold throws picks. Like, I think his first 2 games of the season, he had a pick 6 in each one. So, and my fantasy team hopes he has another one this weekend. But I don't think he'll be able to stand up to the pressure. And then Deshaun Watson and Hopkins is just, if they had a little bit better, the Texans would be really something to mess with. But yeah, I think they'll be able to win this one.
And the Texans secondary, they also got Kareem Jackson and Jonathan Joseph, who are both amazing at what they do. Kareem Jackson has 13 passes deflected and 2 interceptions. And Jonathan Joseph has 11 passes deflected and 2 interceptions as well. And, that's kind of like you got J.J. Watt pretty much about to kill you. You release the ball and these guys swat it down. So it's kind of hard to score on this defense, which I think is going to make them, when they make the playoffs, after they probably win. I got the Texans winning this game, and they clinch that division spot. They're going to be a threat in these playoffs. I don't know if another AFC team has the defense that the Texans do going into these playoffs. The Chargers, we just talked about their defense is pretty solid. But the Pats don't have a strong defense. The Chiefs definitely don't have a strong defense. The Steelers' defense is okay, and the Texans, I think, currently in the
But that
playoff
Steelers
spot.
defense also lost the game to the Raiders.
Yeah, exactly. So like they let Derek Carr and a team of nobodies because they traded all their team away, just kind of like tear him up.
Beat them.
So
Yeah, exactly.
it's
I would say
interesting.
the only defense I think in the AFC that rivals the Texans is probably the Ravens defense.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And I actually do have the Ravens winning the AFC North.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. The Ravens defense for sure, but their offense isn't as good. So that's
No, I mean,
you know,
another rookie quarterback situation, and
mhm.
so
Yeah.
I don't know if I see them as a deep playoff team in the Ravens, but I definitely see them winning the division if the Steelers continue to play the way they are. But
Exactly.
we'll get to that one.
So who do you got winning this one?
I got the Texans.
Texans. Nice. Let's move on to the Browns versus the Broncos. The Battle of the Bees. We are.
I think this is going to be a good game.
I think this is going to be a good game too.
Both teams are right there on the verge of wild card. They're on the outside looking in. I mean, the Chiefs or the Chargers are going to clinch that 5th seed. I mean, both those teams are sitting at 11-3. So the 5th seed's essentially spoken for. So they're going to be playing for that 6th seed. So, I mean, we've seen Case Keenum. I mean, he was in the North last year, and he was able to come in and win games and win the North. And so he's got the experience, but then you got Baker Mayfield and just the electrifying energy that he can bring to the field. Mix that with both these teams have outstanding rookie running backs in Phillip Lindsay and Nick Chubb.
Right.
And it's going to be a good game.
Yeah. Nick Chubb is, ever since Carlos Hyde left and Nick Chubb was kind of forced to take those carries, he's been kind of lighting up there in Cleveland. So, same with Phillip Lindsay, man. Like, I don't think anyone was really expecting Phillip Lindsay to come in and be as dominating as he is. We talk about his height. Everyone talks about his height, but, being a small running back is not easy. And, the guy's got 9 touchdowns on the season. And a lot of them are, close range where he has to plow through 300, 400-pound linemen. So, it's
Phillip Lindsay is probably my favorite, if not one of my top favorite stories in the year. Because, it's an undrafted rookie who came in for his hometown team. Like, he's never played football outside of Colorado. And he makes the team, and now he's making a name for himself, It's a great story. And so I'm excited for both of these teams. I have the Denver Broncos winning this one.
okay.
But honestly, it could go either way. I mean, it depends on which Baker Mayfield shows up. I mean, because Mayfield's had a couple of games where you just kind of cringe at, but then he also has games where he just lights it up.
Yeah, exactly. I think Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb are definitely the future of this team. Which is good because, the Cleveland Browns have been drafting quarterbacks, almost every year for like the last 10 years. And now that they don't have to waste a number 1 pick on a quarterback and they can start picking other people, this team is going to be good quick. You don't get that many top seeds and not get absolute studs. You can just go down their roster and you have so many good players all over, Jarvis Landry, Callaway, Higgins, Nick Chubb, all these guys on defense, and I think this team is going to be a good team for years to come. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? You say they're on the outside looking in, but realistically, how good of a shot do they have? They got the Broncos, the Bengals, the Ravens, all winnable games. That Ravens one's going to be tough, but I think other teams, such as the Colts, who are going to be fighting for a wild card spot, they play the Cowboys, Giants, and the Titans, all they need to do is win one of those games. And, you know, all the Titans need to do is like win one. So it's gonna be hard for Browns. They do have the advantage of having that tie, which puts them up. If it comes down to 8 wins, they'll have one tie. But you know, it's gonna be tough. I got the Browns winning this one. You know, it's in man.
I mean,
it's
a toss up either way.
Denver,
like I said,
so it's gonna be tough, but
it comes down to which Mayfield, Baker Mayfield shows up.
Exactly. Good point. So next game we got the Cardinals going to Atlanta to take on the Falcons.
What two dumpster fires of teams right now.
Right. We got the Cardinals are coming off a loss. They weren't able to score last week in Detroit. So, well, it was in Arizona, but let's see. There's, you look at this team, and sure they got a rookie quarterback, and sure their rookie quarterback has more interceptions than touchdowns, but they still have enough star power on this team where you think they'd be doing a little bit better. They're 3-10 right now. If you'd have told me that this team would be 3-10 this late in the season, I would 3-10. I would kind of joke and laugh at it. Larry Fitzgerald is pretty solid wide receiver. David Johnson's good. Like, all these guys are good. Christian Kirk's good. David Johnson's also a good 3-down back. Like, he can run, he can catch. And
yeah, he's definitely a great utility back.
And so I just don't understand why this team cannot win. And go ahead.
Yeah, like how I see it is I'm looking at these two teams, and like you said, it was Arizona. Like, they got some stars on their team. I mean, Josh Rosen, obviously, look at Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, both their rookie years weren't all that special. So I'm not writing him off yet, but he hasn't been too impressive. But they got stars in all the other positions. And then you look at Atlanta and you're like, well, this is a team that 2 years ago was in the Super Bowl and obviously had that major blowout at the end to lose it. But this is a Super Bowl caliber team that hasn't really lost anyone.
Yeah, their roster hasn't changed that much in 2 years.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of injuries in defense, but even their offense, hasn't really been able to score a lot and obviously win them games. So if I'm an Arizona fan, I'm looking at my team going, yeah, we suck this year, but there's upside somewhere. Whereas if I'm Atlanta, where the fuck do we go from here?
Right?
Like,
because not only did they go,
I have Atlanta winning this.
Yeah,
but
I got the Falcons as well. It's like what you were saying, man. They didn't just fall; they fell hard. They went from a team that was winning the NFC South to a team that's, pretty much out of playoff contention already. And what's up? They're second to last in the NFC. Like, they're not doing good. And
like you said, they're already out of playoff contention. And you're like, oh, it's week 15. There's a lot of teams. But no, this year there's like 26 teams that are still viable to make the playoffs.
Yeah, there's 2 teams not in playoff contention, and your team is one of them. And
actually, it's these 2 teams.
Yeah. So, like, it's crazy. And, you look at Matt Ryan, and you're like, obviously it's not Matt Ryan. He has 28 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. He's throwing at 70%. He has 6 interceptions, but, who cares? Every quarterback has interceptions. Then you look at Julio Jones. He's not getting as many touchdowns as he should, but he has almost 1,500 yards. Like, what's the problem?
100 receptions. Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of it is coming from the run game. Losing Devontae Freeman hurt. Tevin Coleman just hasn't been productive this year. Ito Smith has looked all right, but the big thing that was pinnacle for the Atlanta Falcons was that dual running back threat that you didn't know what was going to come out because both running backs could run, both could catch. So it was a toss up each play. And then you got Julio and Sanu on the outside, who are both, great receivers. And I think that the biggest thing is the run game this year, mixed with the defensive injuries. But yeah, it's really hard to see this team fall so far.
Yeah. Speaking of teams that have fallen so far, the Raiders and the Bengals. Oh, you got the Falcons winning, you said?
Yeah, I got Falcons.
All right, cool. Raiders and the Bengals. So the Raiders are going down to Ohio to play the Bengals.
Yeah. So here's some interesting. I got Oakland winning this one. And this is why. The past 2 games, Derek Carr has had 607 yards and 5 touchdowns over the past 2 games. And that's against the Steelers and the Chiefs, I believe it was. On the other flip side, the starting quarterback for the Bengals, who I think is named Driscoll.
Oh, Driscoll.
Over the last 3 games, has 561 yards and 3 touchdowns. So Derek Carr is getting it done right now. He's feeling, I don't know if John Gruden's system finally clicked for him or what, but this team is starting to play some good ball. And Cincinnati, I mean, unless Mixon has the game of the season, I don't see him coming out too far on top. Their offense is in shambles right now.
Yeah, actually, funny story. I also have the Raiders winning this game. Had Andy Dalton been playing, I would have picked the Cincinnati Bengals in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I typically don't favor any team that Derek Carr's playing for, but they're doing okay. It's weird because like this team, just like the Falcons a couple years ago, were a decent team, and like you look at this team and you're like, okay, they're gonna be good for a while, and now they're arguably the worst team in the league right now. So, it's funny.
Yeah, I mean, at least this team has like excuses where they traded away Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack. But yeah, you're right. This team had young weapons and Cooper, like they had great defense. Carr looked like a decent quarterback who would be able to hold his own, and then it's just falling apart.
Exactly. Last year I think on my fantasy football team I had both of their wide receivers, and now it's like I don't want to touch any of the receivers with like a 10-foot pole. Even Jordy Nelson, who, being a Packers fan, knows how good he can actually be. So.
Yeah, and he's had a few games where he's eclipsed over 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns. It's just, I don't know. That especially at the beginning is hard. But like I said, the past couple of weeks, Carr has turned it on, and like if they're able to do that against the Steelers and the Chiefs, I fully expect them to continue against the Bengals, who are struggling.
Yeah, I'm looking at Jordy Nelson's stats right now. The majority of his yards came from week 3 against the Dolphins, and then when they played Kansas City Chiefs 2 weeks ago. And he got, 173 yards against the Dolphins, which is a great game, and then 97 yards, which is a very respectable game. And then everything else is like under 50. And
exactly.
So Jordy Nelson's just not being utilized as well as he should be. He's a great slant runner. He can run his routes really well, and then he can pick up yards after the catch more often than not. So why is he having issues, especially now that they're pretty much their number 1, arguably their number 2 receiver? And I don't know. It's just one of those things. I don't know if Derek Carr is the quarterback to lead this team. I don't even know where this team will be next year. I don't even know if they know that will it be. So,
yeah,
interesting. I also got the Raiders winning though too, simply because Andy Dalton is out. But I already said that. So next game we got the Dolphins going to Minnesota to play at the frozen tundra of Minnesota Field. And
frozen tundra of the really stadium.
So we got the Dolphins taking on the Vikings. both of us need both the Lions and the Packers need the Vikings to lose. So I'm kind of cheering for them. I think it's weird. This team's weird. They have the weapons on both offense and defense, and the Dolphins kind of do, I guess. They have decent receiving core and a decent running back core, I guess. Their quarterback situation's kind of messed up, but their defense is okay. And so I'm actually picking the Dolphins to win this game. I think the Dolphins are a very, very underrated team, and I think they need the win more than the Vikings do. I can't really say that. Both teams 100% need to win this game, and that's why I think it's going to be a great game. The Vikings and the Dolphins are just outside playoffs right now. I'm not sure if the Dolphins have the wild card spot or not right now, but they're at 7 wins, and the Vikings are at 6. And, both of them, if they get a win, will have a wild card spot. Not clinched, but they'll be sitting in the wild card spot. And so I think both teams need this win, and I think that's why it's going to be a good game. It is in Minnesota, which makes it a little bit harder. But I think the Dolphins can win this game. I don't really have a lot of faith in Osweiler, but they're Amendola's doing really well this year, and so is Kenny Stills. So I think something's gonna click. They've had a couple good games so far this season. They lost to the Colts, but the Colts are pretty good. Then they lost to they won last week. Who did they beat last week? The Bills. So
last week it was the Patriots. Remember?
Oh yeah. Second? They beat the Bills and then they beat the Patriots last week. So, oh man, what a good game that was too.
Right, and that's the thing about this Dolphins team is, like you said, they're doing all right. Like their quarterback situation, Tannehill's going to start this weekend, and we can't act like going up in Minnesota is going to be an easy place to pull out a victory. I mean, the Minnesota defense is still solid. The biggest hang up on the defense this year has been their offense. Is just Kirk Cousins isn't getting it done. And this is a make or break game, I think, for Cousins in general. And they just fired their offensive coordinator this week.
That's why I think it's going to be in shambles.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's going to, that kind of throws a wrench in it. And, you're going to be scrambling to put stuff together. Meanwhile, Miami is coming off a huge win against the Patriots. And, so they're just riding high right. So they got the energy to go up there. Like you said, both teams need this win. So I could see Miami going there and winning. I got the Vikings. I'm playing it safer, playing it by the numbers, like the great Mike McCarthy. So I'm probably going to lose this one. But both these teams, they're pretty comparable. Kirk Cousins, though, I think, he's 4-24 against teams with winning records.
Right.
So Miami has a winning record now. So we'll see if that plays out again this week.
Yeah, and, a lot of people are blaming Kirk Cousins for the woes of this team. I see it a lot on Reddit and other forums. Their Twitter feed's always constantly complaining about Kirk Cousins, but, he's throwing 70%. He has 24 touchdowns. They have it's their running game, man. Their running game is so shitty.
And if your lead rusher, like the lead rusher on your team only has 470 yards, you're going to be struggling. Like that you're right. That's a big reason why.
Yeah, what do you do in a situation where your lead rusher, when you're playing a team where the lead rusher only has 470 yards? You basically taunt them to run the ball while you double, triple coverage, Thielen and Diggs, and even add an extra linebacker to Rudolph. You don't have to worry about them running the ball. And, it would have been a whole different situation had they had healthy running backs, but, they don't. And so to blame Kirk Cousins for this team's woes is kind of weird. Being a Michigan State fan, I kind of like Kirk Cousins. But
I want Cousins to succeed.
I want
But
him to
he's also an
succeed,
NFC
but he's
North
also a Viking. So it's like, sorry,
Exactly.
bud. Like, I'm not one of those fans from Michigan where you're
Yeah.
like, I like
Yeah.
college, and I'm going to follow Tom Brady to the Patriots now and hang Patriots flags in my Detroit apartment. So I'm just not.
I'm pretty sure 90% of the big house on any given Saturday is filled with Patriots uniforms or
Right?
hats.
So I got the Dolphins winning this one.
I could see it. I mean, two big Dolphin wins are the Patriots and the Bears. I mean, it's possible for sure.
Yeah. Who do you got?
I got the Vikings.
Yeah.
I mean, both of their big wins that I just mentioned were down in Miami.
Yeah. It is hard to win in Miami, man.
It is.
You know,
I mean, we both did it, but it is.
we did. But they got, their fan base is pretty loyal, and
Yeah.
they're always loud. Same with like, out of all 4 NFC teams or NFC North teams, I hate to say it, but the Detroit Lions probably have the quietest fan base at stadiums. Like, I should not be able to hear so much conversation when there's a game going on. But
yeah, Detroit's fan, they can. I mean, I've been there before. They can turn on people pretty quick too.
yeah, and it used to be different. Back in the Barry Sanders days and stuff. We used to get penalties because our fans were so loud, and now they just kind of sit there quietly. So
Yeah, I'm sure with the team coming up with Gary, that'll change. I mean, NFC North will still be competitive for years.
oh yeah, always. So now we're going to Indianapolis for the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Colts. We got Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper has been, as much as I hate the Cowboys, Amari Cooper has been a great, great addition to this team. I know a lot of people were like, oh, they're trading Amari Cooper for a first-round pick. How great of a steal was that by the Raiders? But then Amari Cooper comes in, and he's already leading the team in receiving yards, and he wasn't even with them for like half the games. And that just shows how desperate they were for a receiver. Ezekiel Elliott is second with receiving yards, so he was basically their entire offensive team. Him and Dak, who, he can scramble a little bit. He doesn't run as much as he used to, but he can scramble when he has to. And so this team, man, Amari Cooper is a game changer. On the other side of the ball, though, what do you think? What do you think about this game?
I think this is it's going to be a really good game. I mean, Dallas is, especially with all the injuries to the Redskins, and I think they're going on their 4th quarterback is going to be starting this week. And then the Eagles have just been, in shambles. Wentz, they're going back to Foles because Wentz is probably out for the season. Not to mention all the rumors and stuff about how the team was hiding his injury from him. So that's probably stirring up some stuff in the locker room. And then the New York Giants have just been, or the New York Saquon Barkleys, I should say, are going to be down Odell Beckham this week. So that's, going to put more pressure on Barkley to be able to carry that team. So Dallas, I think, pretty safe to say that they have their division with how well their defense has been playing. And like you said, with the addition of Amari Cooper, just like click that offense. And this is a must-win game for Indiana. And being at home, Luck has played outstanding this year coming back. I'll be honest. I did not expect him to come back as well this year. I mean, when we drew the fantasy league, I picked him up, and that was a complete gamble. Like, I was just throwing a dart at the board and being like, all right, let's hope this one strikes. And I ended up not even using him because I somehow got Mahomes too.
Right.
But he's playing outstanding. The only thing I'm worried about them is their run game is, they go between Mack and Hines. And so their run game kind of goes back and forth. And then T.Y. Hilton, I believe he sat out today, so he's questionable for this weekend. I believe it's an ankle injury. But they got Eric Ebron, who's just been a touchdown machine. So I think being in Indianapolis with a must-win game where the Dallas Cowboys could probably coast into the rest of the season. I think the Colts will win this game.
Really?
But yeah, it's being in Indianapolis. It's not an easy place to play. Quarterback-wise, Andrew Luck is a lot better than Mahomes. Or not Mahomes, Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is aided greatly by the fact that he has Ezekiel Elliott and now Amari Cooper. Like, don't get me wrong, he's probably still a top 15 quarterback in the league right now, but he's definitely being aided on that offense. And Andrew Luck's just playing better, so I'm going with the quarterback that's going to lead this team to victory, and it's going to be Andrew Luck.
I also have the Colts winning. You know, they're trying to get a little too creative sometimes on their offense. You have Eric Ebron rushing the ball 3 times, -8 yards. You know, he's quick. He can definitely get separation when he's running routes. But he's kind of always been, you know, a first hit for go down guy. Like he always goes down on first contact. So to have him try to rush the ball is kind of insane. What are you typing? You type really loud, dude.
Oh, I'm not typing anything. I'm just messing with my phone.
Well, stop that. We got so Eric Ebron's kind of doing his thing. That being said, great year receiving wise. 12 touchdowns is nothing to joke about. T.Y. Hilton, like you said, I think he should play. I don't know if it's a serious ankle injury or if it's a precaution because we need this win injury. And Andrew Luck, like you said, great season. I know you were trying to get rid of him early in fantasy football. You're pretty much trying to take him for any trade you could. And he's just been throwing touchdowns after touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. His offensive line is doing a great job keeping him on his feet. So,
and he might, you know, if I get past this week in fantasy, because there's a good chance Mahomes sits week 17, Luck might be my guy to bring me the championship.
Right. If you beat Robbie, that is. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a few points to catch up on, but that 0 from Allen isn't going to help.
Right. Buccaneers, Ravens. Just tell me who you got. I don't really want to talk about this game.
I would say I think Ravens obviously is your pick.
It is my pick,
Jameis Winston. It's Jameis Winston's Jameis Winston. I mean, he's a quarterback that's going to have fantasy stats at the end, but that's about it. And the Ravens defense is, you know, we've talked about them before. They've been playing really well. Lamar Jackson is not that great of a passer, but he's a great he's great at running the ball. And then you got their other running backs like Gus Edwards, who you got essentially 2 dual threat running backs in the backfield at any given time that you got to account for. So, yeah, Ravens will definitely win this one.
Yeah, I got the Ravens as well.
It's a must-win.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it, let's talk about this game real quick. The Ravens are sitting. Hold on, where are they at? They are 7-6. The Steelers are 7-5-1 thanks to that week 1 tie against the Browns. And I actually think the Ravens can take this division and possibly make it so the Steelers don't even make the playoffs. Do I think it's likely? Hell yeah, I think it's likely. Listen to this shit. Ravens are playing the Buccaneers, which they should be able to win. Ravens are then playing the Chargers, which is going to be a little bit harder because, you know, Phillip Rivers, the Chargers, everything about that team is good. They are on their 3rd string running back, though, mind you. If they're
and Keenan Allen will probably be out next week as well.
Exactly. So if they have the defense where Phillip Rivers is pretty much going to be forced to throw, and then the Ravens also have a good secondary where they can stop that. So it's like, okay, then who they got after that? Then they play the Browns, a division game that could go either way, especially with the way the Browns have been playing. That being said, they win 3 games, blah, 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 blah. Crazy. So then they're sitting at, you know, hypothetically 10-6. Great season, you know, above average. Good for them. Steelers are playing the Patriots, right? The Steelers are playing the Patriots this week. The Ravens could easily take that. Then they go to New Orleans and take on Drew Brees and the Saints. And then they play a division game at home against the Bengals. So it's like
Yeah, so
that
you're
could
looking at,
easily be 3 losses.
yeah, I'll say the only one I would say that they would probably for sure win
Is
is
Bengals.
Week 17 is the Bengals.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you're going into New Orleans against Drew Brees is never a good situation to be in. I mean, that guy is just on another level when he's at home. He's a god, literally. When he's in New Orleans, he becomes a god. I don't know how, but that's what it is.
Yeah, the ball
And
just
then
leaves his hands and is in the touchdown in someone else's hands, no matter which way he's
exactly.
facing.
And well, like you said, luckily they got the Patriots at home this year,
Mm-hmm.
and so that'll help. But Gronk and Brady are finally starting to get a connection again. Gronk seems healthy, and Gronk lights up the Steelers. In
Right.
6 games in his career against the Steelers, Gronk is averaging, I think it's 5 or 6 catches for 106 yards with 1.3 touchdowns. So he is just, a brick house against the Steelers. Not to mention they also got Julian Edelman, Josh Gordon, Hogan, and now they got competent run game in Sony Michel and James White. So yeah, it's going to be definitely a tough game this weekend, and then next week is going to be super tough, especially since New Orleans, it's do or die if they want that first round bye.
Right. And then you look at other teams in the AFC, right? So you got the Colts and the Titans sitting at 7-6 as well. Then you also have the Dolphins sitting at 7-6. So I think it's pretty safe to say at this point the Texans are probably going to beat the Jets and probably the Jags. The Eagles one is up in the air, even though the Eagles have been playing like crap. But the Steelers could easily, if the Steelers don't make the playoff, as a football fan, I'm gonna be stoked.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
there's a chance that the Patriots don't make it as well. Slim chance, they probably will. I don't think both Steelers and the Patriots can miss the playoffs, but if they did, that would be insane. Especially because all off season, I was complaining about how the AFC conference is so stale, and this season is completely different. It got
Yeah, and
go ahead.
it's finally like the end of the year, like right around the corner. I mean, this will be the first time in since probably 2002 that we haven't had someone in the AFC championship game. I mean, it's not yet, but it's probably the best chance that we've had where someone isn't named Roethlisberger, Brady, or Manning in the AFC championship game.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, because Flacco went and won the Super Bowl with the Ravens.
yeah, but I think he
I
beat,
think they
I
beat
think it was the Patriots in the AFC championship game.
yeah, and so since 2001 when Brady came into the league, and it's that's insane. So you got the Ravens as well, but yeah, I think Joe Flacco's doing all right.
Well, he's benched for the rest of the year.
He is benched for the rest of the year.
Sounds like. Well, I mean, unless Lamar Jackson just really
No,
shit the bed. Unless he really shits the bed, I don't see Flacco coming back in.
all right. So it sounds like curfew coming up. So we are going to talk about a couple more games and then just give our predictions for the other ones. We'll talk about the Lions, Bills, Packers, Bears, and then the Patriots, Steelers, and the Saints, Panthers. We'll skip the Seahawks, 49ers, Titans, Giants, Redskins, Jags. So Lions, Bills. This is in Buffalo. Lions offense is pretty beat up. I think they still have the chance to win this game. I think they need to win this game. If they win out, there's still a good chance they can make the playoffs. I know a lot of Detroit fans are kind of counting them out, but that being said, I think they can do it. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and another interesting stat. I got the Lions winning one because Josh Allen for the Bills. He's been doing all right, but he has led the team in rushing. His rushes are scrambles too. They're not designed runs like Lamar Jackson's. They're just scrambled. And so his game relies on his scrambling ability. But the Lions have held all the other quarterbacks that they faced to only 18 yards worth of rushing. And they faced some good running quarterbacks like Cam Newton, Mitch Trubisky. They haven't had a quarterback run more than 18 yards on them all season. So I think they're just going to be able to shut down Josh Allen, and it's just going to, suffocate that offense. And I mean, the Bills' defense is good, but I think, Stafford has enough talent around him to probably get it done and win the game.
So you got the Lions winning?
Yeah.
All right. Going to Chicago, we got the Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears. This will be a hell of a blowout, I think. I don't think the Packers even stand a chance here. A couple of weeks ago, I would have said, sure, why not? But I think the Bears or the Packers are in trouble simply because the Bears win this, they clinch the division against their rival at home. I don't think there's really anything sweeter than that, and I think the Bears are just going to go out and try to do as much damage as they can to this Packers team. The Packers going forward, I think they definitely have some good young guns in St. Brown and Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah.
So, and
MVS.
And let's not forget about Aaron Jones. Dude is absolutely insane running back who's very underutilized. We talk about that every week. But, I think going forward, you always got Aaron Rodgers, so they'll be fine. But I think this game is just going to be almost embarrassing, and I'd be surprised if the Packers can get above 10 points this game.
See, and I see this game going two ways. It's either going to be like you said, or it's going to be another nail-clinching heartbreaker, and Aaron Rodgers is going to go in and make Bears fans cry. I mean, if there's anything to do, it's to make Bears fans cry.
Right.
And he's, Rodgers is always great against the Bears. I mean, we saw the first game this season where he came back in and brought us back for the win. And you could call that a fluke or whatever, but I think that also kind of against the Packers, because if there's any loss that the Bears want back, it is that first week. I guarantee out of every game that lost, even against Miami or whatever, the one against the Packers in week 1 is the one that stung the most. So like you said, they're going to be coming out. They're going to want to do some damage. I'm being a fanboy on this one. I'm still going to go the Packers. It's do or die moment. And if I got do or die moment, I got Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams all the way.
Devontae Adams is pretty fucking good. So, Redskins, Jags. Who's your pick? We're not talking about it.
Who did I get? I had Jags.
Jags. I have the Redskins, actually. I thought I had the Jags. I want the Jags to win, though.
I think the quarterback they're going with, his name is Joshua Jackson this week.
The Redskins?
Yeah. I got him going in DraftKings because I need to make up.
Oh, man. I forgot about their whole quarterback situation. Probably a bad idea, but, I already claimed the Redskins. Can't change it now. Titans, Giants.
I have... Let me find Giants.
I have the Giants as well. Seahawks, 49ers.
Seahawks. I mean, Nick Mullins put up 400, yards against the Seahawks in Seattle, which is remarkable, but his team still got destroyed. So, right. Seahawks.
Here's a game I actually want to talk about, though. The Patriots versus Steelers. We touched on it a little bit, but let's get into more detail. You got Tom Brady, often considered the GOAT of football quarterbacks, going against Ben Roethlisberger, also considered one of the best quarterbacks right now. I'd say top 10.
Easy.
He's regressed a little bit. He has, but he still has 28 touchdowns. He's still hard to tackle. He still has,
and he's second in yards too.
Yeah, and he still has one of the best duo combinations of wide receivers there is in Juju Smith-Schuster and Antonio Brown.
It's insane that they got both those guys. Just outrageous.
Especially so late with Juju Smith.
Yeah, I know. Kid is
insane.
So talented.
And I like Juju Smith. Don't like the Steelers. Like the Jujus. So
yeah.
his real name. Did you know his real name is John Smith?
Really?
Yeah, Juju was
I
his
wonder why he
nickname.
changed it to Juju.
Juju was his nickname, and Schuster was, I believe, I'm probably getting this wrong, but I believe it was the guy who raised him. So he wanted to honor him by taking on his last name. So he hyphenated
Juju.
it.
He was my favorite. He was like my NFL story last year, like my favorite NFL story last year.
Because someone stole his bike.
Yeah, he didn't have his driver's license. I remember that.
So Tom Brady, he's having a pretty decent season, 3,700 yards. It's been pretty quiet, simply because everybody is slobbing on the knob of Mahomes this season. But he's still doing really well. 23 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, which is one of the lowest of all starting quarterbacks who's played as many games. Gronkowski, I'm going to go on a limb and say this is probably his last season. I would not be surprised if he announces his retirement when they're done this year. Hate to see him go off not winning a ring, especially with how much he's done in New England. They still might win their ring. They still might win. I don't have them winning, but we can discuss that more when it happens. So I'm going to go on a limb and say we're going to see start seeing the decline of the Patriots simply because a lot of this offense relies on Gronkowski. They didn't have Gronkowski, they didn't have Edelman when they played the Lions, and they were easily able to shut down Gronkowski. They didn't have Gronkowski when they played the Bears, and the Bears just shit all over this offense. Given the Bears have a really good defense, but it's pretty obvious how much they need both Edelman and Gronkowski. And Josh Gordon and James White obviously do their thing as well. But without Gronkowski, there's not another tight end. Maybe Kelsey, is on that caliber he is, and who has such an impact on the offense. And
I'll say it. The top tight ends you can name are Gronk, Kelsey, Ertz, and then I would throw Kittle up there right now.
This year, I would
unfortunately
I would even add Ebron in that. To be honest.
Oh yeah.
This year, overall, not really, but this year, great.
This year for sure. And who knows how his career turns out from here.
Yeah, especially being a receiving tight end now. But Tom Brady, I think he's probably going to have a couple more years, which is weird, but
yeah. See how I see the Patriots going the next couple of years is I think, like I told you, is that they should trade for Nick Mullins. I mean, he's a third stringer over in San Francisco. He's done pretty well in the 5 games he's over there. I mean, his QBR average is 93 in 5 games, and he's averaging 295 yards a game. So he's doing all right, and he's very studious. So going forward, I think that they should get Nick Mullins and have Brady kind of, coach him and mentor him up. I don't know if he'd be as explosive as, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Tom Brady, but he could be decent. But for this game, this could be, like you said, but the way Ben's playing, Gronk, this is probably the last time Gronk goes up against the Steelers. He needs to get out. And then we're counting down probably the last couple of games of watching Brady and Ben Roethlisberger go at it. Because let's say even if the Patriots do win the AFC East, like they always do, but Pittsburgh is on the way out of AFC North. And if that happens, unless their conferences line up next year, they're not going to play each other.
Well, they shouldn't because they're lined up this year.
Yeah, so, I mean, they've always played each other because both teams have always dominated their divisions, so they always play each other. But, yeah, if the Steelers don't win the AFC North, I think both of us agree that it's a good chance that won't happen. Then these teams won't play each other. Yeah. And either one of these guys are a couple of years.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. This could very well be the last time these two quarterbacks play each other.
Yeah, I mean, we might get a matchup in the playoffs at some point, but yeah, it's regular season wise. This could be one of the last times.
Yeah, dude, they should totally flex this game to Sunday night.
Let's see, who's they got?
Eagles Rams, which we're about to talk about right now. Eagles Rams. The whole Carson Wentz situation with his back is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, I get tied in the severity of it, but this guy's you're playing with his career, his life, his money, and not telling him something like that. Now he's got a stress factor in his vertebrae. It's pretty low.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Carson Wentz has been playing on a fractured back that his trainers knew about for the last 3 weeks and didn't tell anybody. And he was like, man, my back's messed up. I'm going to take this to an outside source, go to the doctor, figure out what happened. The doctors were like, yo, Wentz, you got a bad back. You've been carrying this team so hard. You have a terrible back. You should not be playing. And because of that, now it's like, what's going on with this organization where they're hiding injuries to try to get wins? That's fucked up. That being said, you think he's going to play this week? There's no way, right?
No, he's already been.
It has to go to Nick Foles.
Yeah, so they're going to Nick Foles this
Super Bowl
weekend.
champion Nick Foles.
I think going forward, they're like, well, he's questionable for the rest of the season. But if I was Wentz, I'd tell him, no, I'm not playing.
I would honestly look to transfer teams if I was Carson Wentz. I'd be so upset that my team just risked my back for them. It's like,
yeah, because they're for a full recovery, expecting 3 months for a full recovery, which is why they didn't tell him.
That's crazy. Who did you have for the Patriots Steelers, by the way?
I think I had Patriots.
All right. So anyway, back to this Eagles-Rams game. So that's brutal. But, Nick Foles proves he can be a clutch quarterback. Then you got, Golden Tate, who has a touchdown now.
He's starting to come alive a little.
Yeah. Which sucks because, I think Carson Wentz and Golden Tate were just now starting to get that connection. And now Carson Wentz is gone. You got backup Super Bowl champ Nick Foles, and it's gonna be interesting to see how well he does. Golden Tate obviously get the ball in his hand. He does work. Then you got Zach Ertz, who's probably gonna have a great game and ruin your fantasy football. And
he hates me.
He hates me.
Personally, he hates me.
But on the other side of the ball, you got the Los Angeles Rams doing work. They just lost to the Bears, so they're probably mad.
Yeah, and obviously they're fighting for, they can't just coast in and get a first-round bye. Like, they're going to have to fight for it.
Right.
And I think the Bears showed last week. I mean, they obviously showed that this Rams offense is mortal, and the way to do it is to shut down Gurley.
Not just shut him down. Shut him down hard.
Yeah, and dare Goff to pass it. Dare Goff to beat you through the air. And that speaks volumes to Gurley and how good he is for that team and how much he means to that team. I don't know if it speaks against Goff, if he's not there yet to be able to carry the team. I mean, they have injuries at wide receiver as well.
He had 4 interceptions last week against the Bears. And
we know that Bears defense is outstanding, and they're tough to play against.
Exactly. Which is surprising because they're not doing that great against the run, which I feel like they should be with with Sue and Donald up front, and they're one of the teams that gets ran on the most, and I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to tire out Sue and Donald, and then they're like, oh man, we can run right through these guys. But back to Todd Gurley, dude. The Bears shut him down 28 yards, shut Robert Woods down to 61, and everyone else had under 36 yards. So it's like
exactly,
and they don't have the diversity other teams do it, in receiving.
I think that's where they lack is they don't have not just the diversity, but really the talent. Like, I mean, Mahomes has Tyreek Hill, who is probably one of the fastest guys. It's not the fastest receiver in the game. And then, another Rivers has Keenan Allen, who is another outstanding wide receiver. So I think they have depth at wide receiver. I just don't know if they have that outstanding all-star talent that can carry them over adversity like that.
Exactly. Cooks and Woods are both good in their own right. Great as a duo.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp, decent tight end. Todd Gurley is also your fourth best receiver, that's saying you don't have a good receiving core. I know Todd Gurley. I'm not trying to undermine Todd Gurley here. He is fucking amazing, but when your running back is that high, look at the Cowboys. Their receiver is their running back is their second most receiver, and
and he would be number one, and Amari Cooper never showed up.
He'd be number one if Amari Cooper never got traded to him. So this is saying that you have three guys that you throw to, that share the majority of your touchdowns, your passing touchdowns, and you rely heavily on that run game. You shut down that run game. You cover Cooks and Woods. What do you have? You throw to Cooper Kupp and try to get tight end touchdowns?
Cooper Kupp's injured, though. He's gone out for the season.
Yeah. Now what? You got three people you're throwing to and a backup tight end.
Which is really when their offense kind of started, is when they've lost Cooper Kupp. I mean, obviously they had that shootout with the Chiefs, but they were aided by 2 defensive touchdowns.
Right. So, Eagles, Rams, who do you got winning?
But, I mean, that being said, the Eagles are not the Chicago Bears.
No, they're not.
I mean, yeah, Super Bowl champion Nick Foles. I was going to say that he's pretty much like your off-brand Fitzpatrick. But, I mean, he's got a Super Bowl ring, but he's just not flashy. You know what I mean? He's just, a solid average QB. And the running back by committee with, they've been going a little bit. I think John, they've been going with a little bit as their premier running back, but still the Eagles aren't looking the best offensively. And I don't think they'll be, their defense, I don't think the way they've been played will be able to do what the Bears defense did.
No, exactly. The Bears probably have one of the best defense in, Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks. So, but the Rams also have that dual combo. But, the Eagles don't have anything like that. Not to undermine, people like Darby and Hicks and Bradham, who are all doing pretty well, but they're just not Chicago Bears or Rams good. So, So who do you got winning?
I got the Rams.
Nice. And our final game, Monday Night Football between the Saints and the Panthers in Carolina.
See, this one's interesting.
I agree.
This is probably my upset of the week.
Oh, you got the Saints winning?
I got the Panthers winning because Drew Brees is human. The only place he is human is when he's playing away. Especially
fair.
Away division. So, and the Panthers, they're still 6-7. And this is a team that I think they're on a 4-game losing streak, I believe. 3 or 4. So this is a team that was right there in playoff contention.
They're on a 5-game losing streak.
So this team was sitting pretty comfortably 5 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden, it was like the Lions when they started off 7-3 and then ended the season, I think it was 7-8.
Yeah, they started that season 5-0.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where the Panthers are kind of headed. So it's 100% do or die for them to make it in any sort of playoff contention. The Saints, they got a pretty good handle on the South, being that they have 5 games on the Panthers. So the Saints have the South. I don't think there's any other teams. I think the Panthers are second in the South at 6-7. So the Saints have the South. So this isn't a do or die. They're just playing for a first-round bye at this point. The Panthers, on the other hand, are playing for that wild spot. Both spots are open. They want them.
Right.
And being at home against Drew Brees, Christian McCaffrey is just level. Like that dude, he does everything. as explosive as we all thought he was going to be.
Right.
And I think if Cam Newton tones down his mistakes, calms down, and gets the ball to his receivers, that they can win this game.
I mean, what receivers though? I've preached this all season. They have two players, man. They have Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey. I would listen to an argument, oh, Devin Funches and DJ Moore, they're so good. And they are good. But this team relies too heavily on Christian McCaffrey and Cam Newton. And I think teams are starting to figure out, hey, this team relies too heavily on Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey. The Lions limited Christian McCaffrey to 53 yards. After that, the Seahawks limited Christian McCaffrey to 125 yards. Not a good example there. But the point is, you need to limit Christian McCaffrey because that is your entire team right there. And
I would say just like the Seahawks game is 125. He had 100 yards receiving. And you're right. It's kind of like how we said the Bears figured out how to beat the Rams, take out Gurley. I mean, the Seahawks were able to beat them by even letting McCaffrey run all over them. That just shows how limited the Panthers are every.
Dude, yeah.
And you're right. I mean, and compared to the Saints, who have two all-star running backs, Michael Thomas, not to mention it's all headed by Drew Brees, and a decent, they got Cameron Jordan on or is it Jordan Cameron? One of them. The defensive one, and leading their defense. And they're a great, solid team. I mean, obviously the past couple of weeks we've seen Brees kind of get, they got destroyed and shut down by Dallas. So they haven't been as flashy. Last week they almost, they dropped early to Tampa. But like I said, away games for Brees are his kryptonite.
They are,
and I think.
But I got the Seahawks winning this game. The Seahawks. I was looking
Panthers?
The Saints. I got the Saints winning this game.
Yeah.
But I was looking at the Seahawks Carolina Panthers game, and the Panthers put up against the Seahawks 27 points, lost to the Seahawks because they put up 30. Their entire offense was ran through Christian McCaffrey, obviously. Christian McCaffrey had 125 yards rushing, 112 yards receiving. And it's just insane. Just shut this guy down. I don't understand. And so
right.
I think the Saints...
He's got 900 yards rushing on the season, plus 7 touchdowns, plus 86 catches for 701 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. He's out receiving a lot of teams' receivers.
Yeah, dude, he's so good.
Almost 1,000 yards on top of it.
If he goes, it's probably not going to happen. He'd have to get 300 yards receiving or 100 yards receiving each game, which I guess is doable. But if he goes 1,000, I'd be so impressed.
Yeah, 1,000 yards rushing, receiving. And even if he within his career in the next 5 years, that's obviously doable for this guy.
Yeah, it's insane. Definitely going to add him to my fantasy football team next year, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's all. Let's hear. 20 points a game from just receiving yards, rushing yards, and throw 4 touchdowns on top of it.
Who has McCaffrey?
Ryan. Yes, Ryan has McCaffrey and Elliott. I don't know how I beat him that week.
He has McCaffrey and Elliott, and he's in the loser bracket?
Hell yeah, dude. You're welcome.
I would have beat him this week anyway, but...
I wouldn't have. Allen. Oh, that's 0. You don't take Allen out against the Chiefs.
Right.
That 0 hurts. You can't predict it.
Yeah, dude. Christian McCaffrey, he's labeled as running back. Almost could be labeled as both, but whatever. And you got 46 points against the Seahawks, 31 against Tampa Bay, 14 against Cleveland, 17 Detroit, 36 Pittsburgh, 32, 21, 14, 13. Yeah. He's definitely worth a first, second round pick.
Oh, yeah.
But
especially a PPR league.
Right.
All day.
So that's going to do it for today. We're wrapping it up. Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure you guys follow, subscribe. Make sure you follow us on Twitch. Hit us up on Twitter. We don't have an Instagram or a Facebook, but we do have Twitter. So if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, knock yourself out. 32andGoal. We will catch you guys next week. We will be switching studios soon, so hopefully you guys get a little bit better production. Until then, we will see you guys later. 32 out.